Gaza Strip, where Israel's escalation of attacks against the enclave has so far left at least 20 Palestinians dead and scores more injured. Some of the latest strikes hit northern Beit Hanun. 3 people were killed and a dozen others were injured there. Israeli forces are now pressing on with their aggression against the besieged territory. Loud explosions are frequently heard across the coastal enclave. Tel Aviv has said it will intensify its attacks on Gaza in the coming hours. And 30,000 army reservists have also been called up. Tel Aviv stepped up its attacks against the Gaza Strip on Wednesday when it assassinated top Hamas military commander Ahmad Jabari. Hamas has pledged to exact revenge for Jabari's assassination.
We will
never forget the blood of our martyrs and the blood of our leaders. This holy blood will not go without a response. This great Palestinian nation, which has sacrificed for generations martyrs from its leaders and prisoners, will never forget the blood of its martyrs and leaders.
Well, Palestinians in the Gaza Strip have been responding to Israel's escalation of attacks, which began on Wednesday. Palestinian fighters have been firing hundreds of rockets into Israel. The regime's Iron Dome missile system has failed to intercept most of the projectiles. The rockets have so far killed 3 Israelis and injured several others. Some of the rockets have even reached the capital, Tel Aviv. The military wing of Hamas, the Qassam brigades, also shot down an Israeli reconnaissance plane in the east of the Gaza Strip. Well, to discuss those stories a bit further, we're now joined by Mr. Webster Tarpley, who is an author and historian who is joining us live now from Washington. Sir, thanks a lot for joining us. Now, I wanted to ask you firstly about the significance of these rockets reaching Tel Aviv. Certainly, this is quite an important event.
Well, certainly it shows that this Israeli defense system that they've touted so much, where they have Arrow and David's Sling and then Iron Dome at the bottom, this is not working very well. And what it sets up is the pattern that we've seen in the past, say in 2006, where they couldn't stop the rockets, so then they try a land invasion, and that gets them into even bigger trouble. The other complicating factor, of course, is the attitude of Egypt. I would say we can be confident that civilized humanity is condemning this. The non-aligned group, the 120 countries at the United Nations, Turkey, Iran, many others have condemned it, and I think that's going to be a groundswell of opinion. At the same time, I would focus on Netanyahu. This is one desperate demagogue, and he's facing an election. This is his pre-election stunt. Here we would call it an October surprise, but it's for an election that's going to happen in the new year. Netanyahu is facing an absolutely disastrous economy, and we've seen those big demonstrations inside Israel of people who just say they can't survive. And then we have the fact that Netanyahu has botched in a really crude and stupid way his main client relationship, which is with the United States. He went out on a limb for Romney, his friend Romney, his friend for the past 35 years. He thought he could help put Romney into the White House, and this is now boomeranged. And inside Israel, public opinion is mocking him, that he's a bungler, that he doesn't know what he's doing, he's incompetent. And of course, that means for the Israelis a great deal, because without that relation, they couldn't do what they're doing. And then perhaps even more, the network that Netanyahu was counting on for future wars is being dismantled here. Take General Petraeus at the CIA, a neocon general, a general who was absolutely attuned to what the Israelis wanted. And similarly, a group of other subversive officers that are being kicked out of the US military, meaning that when Netanyahu wants to launch the attack that he's been talking about for so long, the attack on Iran, there's now a big question mark about whether he'll get the U.S. assistance that he's been so arrogant about demanding, and which has landed him in this fix. So Netanyahu is the aggressor, and this is a desperate adventure by Netanyahu.
Mr. Tarpley, I also wanted to ask about regional countries and their reactions. In an earlier conversation with our correspondent on the ground there in Gaza, she mentioned that the Gazan people don't actually trust Egypt to do the right thing, and neither do they trust even Qatar, although the Qatari emir recently visited the Gaza Strip to do the right thing either. What is your assessment of that?
Well, nobody in his right mind would trust Qatar, despite that visit. And Egypt, of course, is complex, and they have their own interests. I hold out maybe some hope that we might see a revival of the Suez 1956 instinct or response here in Washington, where I don't think publicly, but I think privately, Netanyahu is going to be told to stop it, right? To butt out, to stop this aggression and not to go all the way. I would think that there would be people in Washington telling him that. And whether he takes that advice is anybody's guess. Netanyahu can start a war, but he can't finish it. And maybe some people in Israel even see that as well.
All right, we'll have to leave it there for now. That was Mr. Webster Griffin Tarpley, author and historian, speaking to us live from Washington. Sir, we do appreciate your insight here on Press TV.